I'm actually very keen to know about TST's reaction to this. Obviously, he's given us some fantastic information here. Jones' first sub since 2012, 15-0 in title fights now. I mean, the guy's got some good arguments in terms of being the GOAT, I'd imagine.
I need to know what the prop was. I need to know what the prop bet was for a Jones submission in this fight. I didn't even look that. I didn't even look that up, but.
That feels
like something a good producer would find out for you guys. But alas, I am not. I'm sad that the fight ended so soon. I want to see more of Jon Jones.
Sure. The only thing we saw,
yeah. I've been hearing about this guy for years. Yeah, I've saw more of him on, and like I saw all the Jones embedded coverage. I've been hearing about him for years. I was so excited for this moment, and he won. I didn't think the choke, I didn't think that was a great submission. I was like, oh, it's over. I wasn't even that impressed by the submission. I wanted to see the light leave Gane's eyes. I wanted to feel the violence from Jon Jones that everyone's been talking to.
Sure.
I know I'm very hostile at whatever time it is right now. But yeah, I wanted to see more of Jon Jones. I've been hearing about him for so long. I've watched the highlight footage. I wanted to see more of what this guy has to offer, and the wrestling was fantastic. But I just wish I'd gotten more Jon Jones.
It was when you say this, I was looking at the replay, and it's when wrestlers kind of practice takedowns with dummies, they're tracking them. It looked like that. He kind of gets him, he flings him down so nonchalantly that realistically, the only thing you really saw was that he knows how to use his weight, because all he did was put his full weight, his full hulk into that takedown and lands on him, right? And then it kind of goes from there. It devolves into a setup, and it almost at that point looks like sparring in the sense of okay, and then I might try something like this. All right, good, we're good. Let's stand up and reset it. It almost had that feel. That's how anticlimactic it felt. It seemed like he was setting it up, and it was there, and boom, the tap came just like that. So I can understand 100% what you're saying right there, that you're just sort of well, wait a minute, It's like that old Ronda Rousey thing. She'd go in there and throw somebody and get a 16-second armbar, and you're like, there goes my $50 up in smoke. Now it's 75, but you know what I mean? It was sort of there it went. That's what I paid for.
How confident are you that he will keep his word and be an active fighter now? I know it's. We have seen him as a very active fighter in the past. There was just this kind of impasse he reached with the UFC where they couldn't get things on the same page. Now he says he's back. He's ready to compete. He's obviously got a contract there. Stipe is now right in front of him. International Fight Week would be an obvious one if that's what they wanted to do. How confident are you that we will start seeing Jones at this kind of later phase of his career compete 2 to 3 times a year?
I mean, we've been told a lot of things. He's told us a lot of things over the years, man. A lot of things, and I wouldn't say that it's always kind of made up, or that he doesn't stick to his word, but that remains to be seen. I will say that has to feel good. I know he came out of that unscathed. He was in mint condition. He didn't. Nothing happened to him in that fight.
His balls might be injured.
Other than the balls, put some ice on that, But other than that, I felt like he came out of that just fine. He looked fine. I would be surprised if he's not on International Fight Week, especially if they've worked out the contract and everything, which they have. I feel like, kind of the bigger issues, getting his body to where it needed to be for heavyweight. If you're believing him, everything he's saying, not sure of himself in these ways, making sure he had the weight, making sure his contract, it's all there. So if he's good to go and Stipe is good to go, I think that makes complete sense. And I would be surprised, actually, if that doesn't happen. They need a big fight, and that's right there, right? That's the easy thing to make. So I think that will be the move. And, dude, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, now with him in that division, it just makes it a whole different thing, does it not? I mean, it just feels like a whole different setup now.
100%. TST's just giving me some quotes here. Gane, not surprisingly, quoted as saying, "I'm really angry about myself." I imagine that is exactly how he feels. But on to another man that we need to discuss, and I'm sure there's MMA mathematicians all over the world right now comparing Ciryl Gane's performance against Francis Ngannou with a shot knee against Jon Jones, who just mauled him and destroyed him in the first round. Ngannou says of the performance, "Good job, Johnny boy. Sincerely, the heavyweight king," as he should. As he should.
As he should.
But I guess,
especially on the heels
of
basically being told, I mean, again, we're dealing in a master promoter here who's not known to always tell the truth. But when Dana White's basically shutting the door, like, nope, he'll never return to the UFC. Well, you better be pumping. You better be smiting your own chest at every occasion, right, and reminding people of who you are. I think that's a good move for him. That's got to be Ngannou's tag.
Yeah, I'm very curious to know about the Helwani sweepstakes that he announced on Tuesday's show. How many times did you hear Francis Ngannou mentioned on the UFC 285 broadcast, Chuck? Because I, for one, did not count many. I can't even remember one. No.
And I feel like that was a projected, thing. I really didn't feel like they were going to fix that. I was kind of surprised, honestly. They even showed the Diaz brothers. I know that that Nick is, I think, still technically, right, like he's still part of the roster, but with Nate kind of on the outskirts now, I was kind of surprised they even gave them the airtime. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I saw people in the people posting who were in the crowd or in the at the arena tonight posting that, but I didn't think the UFC would spotlight him. But yeah, I didn't expect to hear Francis's name brought up at all, really. So any mention of it was bonus, right?
Right. And so I asked the both of you, the likelihood of Johnny Bones Jones as champion being the catalyst for a Francis Ngannou return to the UFC. Right now, what do you say? Yes or no? Gun to your head, Chuck.
Gun to my head for what now? Repeat this.
Will Johnny Bones being the heavyweight champion be the catalyst for Francis Ngannou returning to the UFC?
Wow. I want to say yes. I do
too. I do.
I think, to me, in the end, that's going to be the fight, especially if he holds it. Let's say he just goes, he has that international fight week, he goes against Miocic, he wins. I mean, this would be the trilogy of fights, right? Like you'd say, like, well, we wanted to see Gane. I think originally that would have been third, the way it was shake out, but maybe it all goes in reverse. It's Gane, Miocic, and then Ngannou. I could see this happening, man. And give me a break. Dana White, don't tell me you're not interested in this guy, that you could put together still what would be one of the biggest, if not the biggest fight in UFC history, and at least in the heavyweight division, right? Even above the Brock Lesnar stuff, I feel like this is a slam dunk at that point that it would become that kind of fight. So don't tell me that you wouldn't be interested in getting him and that you wouldn't want to reopen some negotiations if that chance arises. That will definitely happen.
There is absolutely no chance that fight happens. No chance. Because the reason Ngannou left the UFC is not because the UFC didn't want him. It's because Ngannou didn't want to be there anymore. If Ngannou is such a man of principles, then why would he ever go back to the UFC? Because the UFC is not going to give him the things that he wanted. They're not going to make those concessions. Why would he just suddenly go back on all of that?
Well, sometimes your perimeters change, and Jon Bones Jones is proof of that. Didn't he once say, unless I'm getting Deontay Wilder money, I'm not going to fight? Deontay Wilder money is about 20 million.
There's a lot of stuff said like this. But, I mean, you do have a point. He did leave on these principles. Now, will he change his mind? That remains to be seen. I just think that, yes, this is one of those situations that I believe that, yes, they will revisit if it's there. If it's there down the line and they feel like that is the fight, it's just too big of a fight not to. As Ariel was mentioning, I mean, they were talking to Nate, right, about trying to – Nate wanted out, but they were talking to Nate about doing the tough coaching. It's just, you know how the business is. I think that they could try this and there could be a change of heart. If there was going to be – this would be the guy. I feel like this would be the this would be the situation if the UFC was going to go back on itself and try to figure it out, and Ngannou was going to go back on his word and try to figure it out. This would be the one. It remains to be seen. There's a lot of fascination to this, but I appreciate Troy. I appreciate that you think that he will stick to his principles, and maybe he will, man. If he does, that's the most principled fighter we've ever seen come through the UFC at this point, I believe.
Troy, as much as you're being very realist in what you've said there, let your fanboy heart flutter here a bit. What would it mean for you to watch Francis Ngannou v. Jon Jones? I'd say Jon Jones, if you made that top 10 fighters list a week later, I'd say he could occupy a number there based on the way I see your eyes reacting to this man today. I mean, tell me you wouldn't love to see Francis Ngannou and Jon Jones. Oh,
I would love to see it. By far, in a way, I have more interest in Ngannou, Jon Jones than Stipe, Jon Jones. I would think Jones would win that fight. Can we play the fantasy who wins Jones versus Ngannou? I know that's what Ariel would ask, so let me be Ariel.
Oh, that's a great one. I'd
Yeah.
pick Jones right now. After seeing that, I'd pick Jones.
Gosh.
I'm sorry.
No. I mean, I still think I would lean Francis. But it's only because I feel like, you know, we just saw such a small sampling of anything. I mean, like, he made it look easy, but I mean, he was put in no trouble. We didn't gauge a chance to get a see his speed difference, any of that stuff. Like, I feel like there's a lot to be seen. So right this second, you know, just based on not having enough information, I'd probably still go with Francis.
Listen, I mean, this is meant to be an MMA show. In the spirit of recency bias, you're only meant to say Jones in this situation.
That's true.
God damn it,
That's
Jim.
true.
Who would you pick, Troy?
I like Jon Jones in it.
Yeah.
Look at this guy.
You got to love
Big Jon Jones guy now. I've seen him fight for 50 seconds.
Right.
What does it do for the rest of the division? Like, you know, truthfully, it's not like some of the other divisions in the UFC. It's not like there are a ton of guys behind the 8 ball, but guys like Curtis Blades, for instance, who had lost, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, suddenly there's paths to do something, even this year. You never know now, especially if Francis never does come back. You know, like there are roads now to a title shot, and that's got to feel good. I mean, that division has been a little strange for the last, 18 months. It's just not had a lot of clarity. This at least puts a guy with a target on himself, right? And it kind of pushes Gane aside now, and it opens up Miocic. And then beyond that, I think there's a fresh queue, right? Like all those guys are basically exonerated. You know, they can do something again.